Shabbat shalom, everyone.
Shabbat shalom.
Hallelujah. Hallelujah. It's wonderful to look out and see the buds coming on the trees. Even nature follows its ordinances. The trees know when Rosh Hashanah is coming, the head of the year, the spring, when everything begins to bloom in its newness again and the cycle starts over. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
It's my solemn prayer today that we would know the times and the seasons. He's given us the luminaries, the sun, the moon, and the stars, and that should be all we need to know regarding when the year is coming in, when the feast days are, when his appointed Shabbats are. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Let us pray. Yahuwah, we come to you today with thankful and grateful hearts. We bow our hearts before you. We declare that we will do all that you say. We will, to the best of our ability, try to keep your commandments, to guard your precepts, holding to the testimony of Hamashiach Yahusha. We affirm that you have said that we are your people. We affirm that you are our Elohim. We affirm that our desire is to be obedient to you. We pledge allegiance to no other. We will have no other Elohim before you.
Yeah.
And so, as we come today, we come with an attitude of gratitude. We desire to praise you. It comes from deep inside us. It is a response to all that you have done. You have given us our life. We live, breathe, and have our being in you. And so we come knowing that you are the potter and that we are the clay. And that we come desiring to praise you on today, to worship you in spirit and in truth, to love you with all of our hearts, minds, with all of our strength, and all that is within us. We come knowing that the Shamayim declares your esteem and the Eretz your handiwork.
Hallelujah.
We see all around us what your hand has wrought. We see and partake in your bounty every week. You feed us. You care for the birds of the field, and how much more do you care for us? You've shown us, and we can see your track record of how you've been there every step of the way. You've never left us. You've never forsaken us. Even in the hardest times and the deepest valleys, you've walked with us. Hallelujah. You said that we could bring our heavy burdens to you. And I pray that we all avail ourselves of that which you have given us. You have promised our ancestors a land filled with milk and honey. We accept that they walk contrary to you, and as a result that you walk contrary to them too. But hallelujah, you have awakened us that we might walk in your paths of righteousness and not turn our ear away from your Torah, that we might hear what the set-apart Spirit is saying to the assemblies today, that we might see in your word, your character, your intentions. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
You reveal yourself to us still, even today. Hallelujah. That you're not a man that you should lie, and that you don't change. You've been the same yesterday. You're the same today, and you'll be the same forever. Our Elohim. Hallelujah.
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 I would ask that Kaliyah would come in and read the Shema, please.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Hallelujah. Hear, O Yasharal, Yahuwah our Elohim is Ahad. And you shall love Yahuwah your Elohim with all your heart, and with all your being, and with all your might. And these words which I am commanding you today shall be in your heart, and you shall impress them upon your children, and shall speak of them when you sit in the house, and when you walk by the way, and when you lie down, and when you rise up, and shall bind them as a sign on your hand, and they shall be as frontlets between your eyes, and you shall write them on the doorpost of your house and on your gates. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
It is so encouraging to see all of your faces today. I don't know about you, but I look forward to Yom Shabbat because I get to see my Mishpachah. And it is such a wonderful thing to see brethren dwell together in unity
Hallelujah.
and to see the hearts knit together as the Most High is doing. Abihu, have your way amongst your people today. Have your way amongst your people. Let your Ruach HaKodesh move freely amongst your people on today. We ask that you would touch, heal, renew, restore, make whole, as you would, according to your will, your way, and your word. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
There is nothing too great for you. If there's any sick among us, we ask that you would heal liberally from the top of their head to the soles of their feet. And any that are not among us today, that you would be with them and that you would be a hedge about them, that you would protect the children of Israel on today, and that you would allow your Ruach HaKodesh to barak those of the 12 tribes who are keeping your commandments on today, guarding your precepts, holding to the testimony of Hamashiach, that you would begin to pour out your baraka on them wherever they are scattered. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
And as the praise goes up today, we're asking that the baraka would come down as the praise goes up, because we understand that we were made to praise you. We were made to praise you. Hallelujah. There are many in our nation today that cling to the heritage but don't display the fruits of the set-apart spirit. we ask that you would be mindful that it's not just his story and our history, but that we need to display the fruit of the Ruach HaKodesh every day when we move about, every day when we come into contact with people, every day when we're on our job, every day when we wake up. That fruit of the Ruach HaKodesh needs to be present in our life, and it needs to show. A good tree cannot bring forth corrupt fruit, and a corrupt tree cannot bring forth good fruit. And so, as people view you, they should know you by your fruit. They should know you by the way that you conduct yourself and how you act. And it's said in Scripture that Yah inhabits the praises of his people. So let us praise him with our whole heart. Let the words of our mouth and the meditations of our heart be acceptable unto you, O Yahuwah. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Well, just because you're a Hebrew, don't get you into the kingdom. I said, just because you're a Hebrew, don't get you into the kingdom. You gotta keep his commandments, guard his precepts. You got to walk in the way. Accept Mattithyahu for who he is. And don't forget to fast and pray. 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 Fast and pray. Multitudes in the valley of decision, family and friends. Multitudes in the valley of decision, family and friends. Multitudes in the valley of decision, family and friends. Multitudes, hell, in the valley of decision. Well, you've got to walk through the lonesome valley all by yourself. You've got to walk through the lonesome valley all by yourself. Just because you're a Hebrew, don't get you into the kingdom. Say what? Just because you're a Hebrew, don't get you into the kingdom. What I gotta do? Gotta keep his commandments, guard his precepts. You got to walk in the way. Accept Mattithyahu for who he is. And don't forget to fast and pray. Say what? Don't forget to fast and pray. Don't forget to fast and pray. Don't forget to fast and pray. Fast and pray. Hallelujah. You know what? Your mama can't go there for you.
I know that's right.
Your daddy can't go there for you.
I know that's right.
Your coach can't go there for you.
I know that's right.
Your key can't go there for you.
I know that's right.
In this walk, you got to walk it out for yourself. got to walk it out. You got to study and show yourself approved. Nobody can do it for you. In this walk, you have to be accountable for your own actions. Hallelujah! 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 You got to walk it out for yourself. Oh yes, you got to walk it out for yourself. You know what? Just because you're a Hebrew, don't get you into the kingdom. Say what? Just because you're a Hebrew, don't get you into the kingdom. What I gotta do? You gotta keep His commandments, guard His precepts. You got to walk in the way. Accept Mattithyahu for who He is, and don't forget to fast and pray. 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 Fast and pray.
We have to have a relationship with Him.
That's right.
We have to call him by name. He knows every hair on your head. He knew you before he formed you in your mother's womb.
Hallelujah.
You're special to him.
Todah,
You're special to him. He's special to us. It's a two-way relationship.
Hallelujah.
He loves us. We love him. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
That's why he inhabits our praises. Because he said, if you put me first, all the other things will be added unto you. But he has to be first.
That's right.
He has to be first. And there's no other Elohim like him.
Hallelujah. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah. Barak Hashem, Yahuwah, Barak Hashem, Yahusha, Barak Hashem, Yahuwah, Barak Hashem, Yahusha, Todah, for all you have done, Todah, for all you're doing, Todah, for all you will do, Todah. Hallelujah. Barak Hashem, Yahuwah, Barak Hashem, Yahusha, Barak Hashem, Yahuwah, Barak Hashem, Yahusha, Todah, for all you have done, Todah, for all you're doing, Todah, for all you will do, Todah. Hallelujah. Barak Hashem, Yahuwah, Barak Hashem, Yahusha, Barak Hashem, Yahuwah, Barak Hashem, Yahusha, Todah, for all you have done, Todah, for all you're doing, Todah, for all you will do, Todah. Hallelujah.
Now I want you to praise him in your own words. What has he done for you? Did he wake you up this morning? Has he fed you?
Hallelujah.
Has he blessed you? Thank him. Todah Rabah,
You
Yahuwah.
are worthy.
You are worthy. All of our praise, adoration, thanksgiving, worship. Hallelujah. He is told. You've been so told. You've been so told. You've been so told. You've been so told. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Give him the highest praise.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Barak Hashem, Yahuwah, Barak Hashem, Yahusha, Barak Hashem, Yahuwah, Barak Hashem, Yahusha, Todah, for all you have done, Todah, for all you're doing, Todah, for all you will do, Todah. Hallelujah.
is our shield and our buckler. He's our tower, our strong tower. He's our strong leader. He is our Aleph. He is our toe. He is the author and the finisher of our faith. Hallelujah. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
At this time, we would ask Aliyah to come and recite a song as Aki plays on the keyboard. Taste and see that Yahuwah is good. He is told. There is none like him.
Hallelujah. 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 Tehillim 73. Elohim is truly good to Yasharal, to those whose heart is clean. But as for me, my feet had almost stumbled. My steps had nearly slipped. For I was envious of the boasters when I saw the peace of the wrongdoers. For death has no pangs for them, and their strength is firm. They are not in trouble as other men, and they are not plagued like other men. So pride is their necklace. The garment of violence covers them. Their eyes bulge from fatness. Their heart overflows with imaginations. They mock and speak in the evil of oppression. They speak loftily. They have set their mouth against the Shamayims, and their tongue walks through the barrettes, saying, therefore his people return here, and waters of a filled cup are drained by them. And they have said, how could all know? And is there knowledge in the Most High? See, these are the wrong, and always at ease. They have amassed wealth. Indeed, in vain have I cleansed my heart and washed my hands in innocence. For I am plagued all day long, and my reproof is every morning. If I had said, let me speak thus, see, I would have deceived a generation of your children. Yet when I tried to understand this, it was labor to my eyes, until I went into the set-apart place of all. Then I perceived their end. Indeed, you set them in slippery places. You make them fall to ruins. How subtly they are ruined, completely swept away through destructions. Yahuwah, when you awake, you despise their image, as one does a dream after waking. For my heart was in a ferment, and I was pierced in my kidneys. I was stupid and ignorant. I was like a beast toward you. Yet I am always with you. You took hold of my right hand. You led me by your counsel, and afterward receive me unto esteem. Whom do I have in the Shamayims? And I have desired no one besides you on earth. My flesh and my heart shall waste away, but Elohim is the rock of my heart and my portion forever. For look, those who are far from you perish. You shall cut off all those who go whoring away from you. But as for me, it is good to be near Elohim. I have made my refuge in the Master Yahuwah to declare all your works. Hallelujah.
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 Take just a moment to settle your heart. Prepare your heart to receive the Torah, the writings of the prophets, the Tehillim, and the great Hadashah. In the beginning was Yah, and the Word was with Yah. Hallelujah. We are to live by every word that proceeds out of the mouth of Yah. It is written. We open up our hearts to hear what the Ruach HaKodesh is saying to the called out assemblies on today. We open up our eyes to see what you will reveal to us through your Torah today in the writings of the prophets of Yahuwah. Hallelujah.
Shabbat shalom, everyone.
Shabbat shalom.
It is good seeing everybody. Beautiful day. Beautiful day we have. We will be in Ezekiel, the 35th chapter and the 36th chapter. We're going to go through a little trek backwards, though, a little bit, just because I want to make to point out some things that are there in the scripture and how and why the nations will be judged. And I want you to think about the similarities in where we're at today and the nations round about and how the nations carry on and how they are functioning, how they think. And begin to see how Ezekiel lines up with what we are seeing in the world today. We've looked into and searched the scripture to see how in Ezekiel's day we were struggling, how we fell short, how we continues to go after other mighty ones, and how we got caught up in other religious systems. So much of Ezekiel will read why we went into our own captivity. And the Most High was not slack in giving us the understanding. I mean, he gave us great details.
That's right.
We can go all the way up to the 25th chapter before he starts talking about the other nations and what they have done and why they would be punished. And up until then, you know, we constantly are seeing what we've done and why we are going through what we've gone through. We are not to forget. They may tell us that in this nation, to get over it, to forget. But it's important for us to hold on and to remember. Why? So that we don't repeat the same things over and over again. So that we don't get caught up in doing those things that have caused our forefathers to perish and to go into captivity and to suffer. This is the last captivity.
Hallelujah.
So we've got to learn our lessons. We've got to know where we've made our errors and where we've made our mistakes. But we're also going to be a witness to the rest of the world as to what they've done, where they're going, because they're going to go into tribulation. They're going to go into curses, the same type of curses that we went through, that we suffered ourselves because of our disobedience. The nations are about to go into suffering, persecution, plague, because of the sinfulness of what they have done. 35 and 36. We'll start at the first verse.
And the word of Yahweh came to me, saying,
The word of Yahweh came to me saying, Ezekiel consistently lets you know where he's getting what he is saying. It's not coming from him.
That's right.
It's not coming from his heart,
Right.
his mind, his imagination. But he consistently lets you know where the word came from.
Right.
Who is the authority behind what he is saying? Because it doesn't come from me.
That's right.
The word of Yahuwah came to me saying,
Son of man, set your face against Mount Seir and prophesy against it.
okay, now he's talking about Mount Seir. Again, we are going to go back a little bit because we're going to go and see that he's prophesied against several nations, several cities. Why? Because of the things that they've done. But we want to set the stage here because this is the current chapter in which we're in, the current people that he's talking to. So set your face against Mount Seir and prophesy against it. Prophesy, not something that's going on. This is not something that he's going to explain why you're going through certain things. Prophesy prior to it happening.
Right.
It's important to understand that when the Most High does a thing, he lets his prophets know first.
Right.
He also lets the nations know that he knows exactly what's going to happen and where all of this stuff is coming from, so you don't mistake it in any way, form, fashion as to the responsibility. Continue.
And you shall say to it, Thus said the Master Yahweh.
Again, thus says the Master Yahweh.
See, O Mount Seir, I am against you, and shall stretch out my hand against you.
So I'm against you. Looking at why. It's not just something that's going to happen, but he's going to understand why you're going through what you're going through. A good father will always let his children know. He doesn't just grab the belt and start swinging.
Mm-hmm.
But he's letting them know exactly why they're being punished, why they're going through the pains in which they're dealing with, why they're suffering what they're suffering through because of the sinfulness of what they've done. Continue.
And shall make you a ruin and a waste.
Mm-hmm.
Your cities I destroy, and let you be a ruin. And you shall know that I am Yahweh.
You're going to know that, you're going to know who has done this. You're going to know that I'm Yahuwah who is doing these things to you because of the sinfulness. And this is why you're going to deal with that. Continue.
Because you have had a continuous enmity, and handed the children of Israel over to the power of the sword at the time of their calamity, at the time of their crookedness of the end.
Now, because you have a continuous enmity, not against the Most High, but against the children of Israel, that they're going through what they're going through, a consistent enmity. Do we know of a people today? Do we know of circumstances today where the children of Israel have enemies that consistently have an issue with them, consistently have an anger, consistently want to oppress them, consistently want to keep them at the bottom?
You can see it everywhere that we were scattered.
That's right.
Everywhere that we were scattered, this perpetual hatred. In this translation it reads, because you have had a perpetual hatred and have shed the blood of the children of Israel by force of the sword in the time of their calamity. So you chose to do this when it was the time of their calamity.
Right.
So you figured they were a little weakened and you could
that's right.
take advantage of them.
That's right.
So you see, the Most High has got an issue, not only in the way you look at him and how you deal with him, but also how you deal with his children. In the time of their calamity, in the time when they were going through chaos, when the time when they'd been weakened, when the time when they were struggling, you didn't do anything to help them. Actually, you began to work against them to take advantage of that place. And this is what we're going to see a consistency of, because we always, many of us, have asked, and consistently all the way through, we'll see people asking, what importance is it? Why do we need to know who the people are? Why do we need to know who true Israel is? Why don't we just serve the Most High? Because that's not going to be enough. Because we might slip into a pattern or a way of thinking or behavior that goes against his very chosen people. And if we're doing that, we're putting ourselves in danger of judgment. And we see here that Mount Seir, because of their enmity or their consistent enmity against the children of Israel, in their calamity, they're going to be punished. So we're going to go back now. We're going to see this pattern. We're going to go all the way back to the 25th chapter. And we're going to go through and we're going to trek from the 25th chapter all the way up to the 35th to see the nations and why they were judged. We've already gone over this, but we're just going to kind of reiterate to see why these nations were judged. Because if we see why they're judged, we can understand how we are to behave, how the nations should behave, how we should perceive and understand those things that the Most High cares for. 25. And we're going to be in the third verse in this. And
Okay.
go ahead, read the third verse.
And you shall say to the Ammonites, hear the word of the Master Yehovah.
Again, letting them know this is who you're going to hear from. This is not going to be coming from me, but we'll see consistently. It's always coming from the Master Yahuwah. And what is being said.
Thus said the Master Yehovah, because you said aha against my set apart place when it was profaned, and against the land of Israel when it was ruined, and against the house of Yehudah when they went into exile.
You're being punished, you're being judged because of how you dealt with the Most High's chosen land and his people. He says, aha, against my set apart place. When it was profaned, and against the land of Israel when it was in ruin, against the house of Yehudah. This is why you're going to be punished. 8.
This is what the Master Yehovah said, because Moab and Seir say, see, the house of Yehudah is like all the nations.
So, how do you see Israel? How do you see the land? How do you see the people? Are they just like everybody else? That's offensive to the Most High. This is what you're saying, that, oh, they're no different from anybody else. But the Most High has chosen, and so they are different.
That's right.
and if your attitude towards them is going to be that of the rest of the nations, they went under judgment. Have to have a proper viewpoint of his people. Continue in 12.
12, okay. Thus said the Master Yehovah, because of what Edom has done against the house of Yehudah by taking vengeance, so that they became very guilty, and they had taken vengeance on them.
So they took vengeance on Yehudah. Who the vengeance belonged to?
The Most High.
So you don't take vengeance on his people, because now the Most High then is going to stand up and judge you.
That's right.
Because you became very guilty, because you took the place, or you stepped in where the Most High was supposed to be at. You're not supposed to take vengeance on. So you see his people getting out of line. Who's supposed? I mean, again, if my children are on the line, don't let me catch somebody whipping my child. Don't let me catch anybody disciplining my children. That's my place. That's my job. The Most High took great offense. You took vengeance on them, and vengeance belongs to him.
That's right.
15.
Thus said the Master Yehovah, because the Philistines have acted in vengeance and took vengeance with scorn in their being to destroy with lasting enmity.
The Philistines took vengeance with scorn. They were angry. They didn't like what they were dealing with, so they took vengeance. Vengeance belongs to the Most High. Therefore, they were going to go into judgment. 26 and 2.
26. 26 and 2. Okay, gotcha. Son of man, because Sor has spoken against Jerusalem, aha, she, the gateway of the peoples, has been broken. She has been turned over to me. Let me be filled. She has been ruined.
Because Sor says, aha.
Aha.
Looking at the circumstances of the children and what they're going through, the punishment that they're dealing with, yeah, you sitting back mocking. This is why Saul was going through judgment. So when the nation say, well, we haven't done anything. We may, you might find the people that say, we didn't put them in chains. We didn't put your people in bondage. We didn't take the sword to your people. But what was your attitude when you saw them taken by another nation? What was your attitude when you saw them struggle with what they were going through? When you look sitting back like, yeah, look at now, yeah, now they're getting this. Is that your attitude? Because if that was your attitude, we see a precedence in the scripture that show that judgment fell upon this people because of their behavior, their attitude towards his chosen people. 27
And
3.
And you shall say to Sor, you who dwell at the entrance to the sea, merchant of the peoples on many coastlands, thus said the Master Yehovah, O Sor, you yourself have said, I am perfect in loveliness.
Now, they're looking in this saying, we're perfect. That is not the correct attitude to have.
Right.
None of us are perfect. Perfection only belongs to one. But you stand there and watch the children as they are suffering, and you say, we're the ones that are perfect. We're the ones that have been doing right. We're the ones that are lovely. As to put ourselves above them, as to put ourselves in a position that they should have been the ones that have been chosen. We're perfect in loveliness. For that you will be judged. 8 and 2.
28 and 2.
28 and 2.
Son of man, say to the prince of Sor, thus said the Master Yehovah, because your heart is lifted up, and you say, I am El. I sit in the seat of Elohim, in the heart of the seas, whereas you are a man and not El. though you set your heart against the heart of Elohim.
So you say in your heart, I'm El. I'm God. I've been lifted up with pride, with arrogance. They know Sor was close to Israel. They were close enough to see and to understand who it is that they worship. They should have known who El is, who Elohim is. But they rose to put themselves in that position, to say that they are Elohim, as to say we should be worshipped. They put themselves in the place, in the situation that Satan had. For this, they were going to be judged.
Okay.
We have to understand and look around and see the peoples and the nations round about that put themselves in the position of Elohim, or to lessen who Elohim is. And so to understand why a nation is being judged, Ezekiel begins to give us precedence. He begins to show us why these nations are being judged round about. 28 and 22.
And you shall say, thus said the Master Yehovah, see, I am against you, O Sidon, and I shall be esteemed in your midst, and they shall know that I am Yehovah, when I execute judgments in her.
So if you're not esteeming the Most High, that's another reason to be judged. I shall be esteemed in your midst.
I shall be.
So if you're going about your life without showing the proper respect towards the Most High, you're a nation round about. Israel is supposed to be a light. Israel is supposed to show the nations who Elohim is. That the nations at this point see Elohim moving against Israel because of their disobedience. And then there's a nation that's nearby saying, you know what, I'm not going to show proper esteem. The Most High is like, well, if you're not going to show the proper esteem, then you're going to be judged. We can't just sit back and know and understand who the Most High is and not give him his proper due, his esteem. 29 and 2.
Son of man, set your face against Pharaoh, the sovereign of Mitzrayim, and prophesy against him and against Mitzrayim, all of it.
So now we're going to be looking at Pharaoh and Mitzrayim and prophesy against all of it. Prophesy against Pharaoh and against all of Mitzrayim. 6.
And all the inhabitants of Mitzrayim shall know that I am Yehovah, because they have been a staff of reed through the house of Yisrael.
We talked about this before. They were a staff of reed. What does that mean? They were supposed to be a staff, a nation that had promised to give Yisrael support.
Okay.
But they were a staff of reed. Anybody go pick up go by the river, body of water, pick up a reed, and then try to put some weight on it and see what happens. It's gonna snap. It's gonna give in when pressure is. It might look nice, but the moment you try to put pressure on it, the moment you try to rely on it, it snaps and it gives in under that pressure. And this is what Mitzrayim was to the children of Israel. They were a staff of reed. They made promises that they knew that they weren't going to follow through with. They made promises that they failed to be able to accomplish. So they were a staff of reed. When support was supposed to be there, support wasn't there. When support was supposed to be there, it actually brought damage to Israel than it did good. 31 and 10.
31 and 10. Therefore, thus said the Master Yehovah, because you have increased in height, and it is set, and it set its top among the thick foliage, and its heart was lifted up in its height. I give it into the hand of the mighty one.
So it says, therefore, thus says the Master Yahuwah, because you have increased in height and set its top amongst the thick foliage, and its heart was lifted up in its sight, in its height. So you were lifted up in your pride because of your great wealth, because of all of your accomplishments. There's many nations round about us that because of what they've accomplished and what they've become and their power in the United Nations or amongst all of the nations of the world, that they see themselves sitting high above all the other nations. They see themselves sitting high above the most highest people. And because of that, they will be judged.
Better sheep, 12:3. And I shall bless those who bless you, and curse him who curses you. And in you all the clans of the Eretz shall be blessed.
Hallelujah.
So we see that it's important to know who Israel is. Because your attitude and behavior towards them is going to reflect on your relationship with the Most High. When Paul was asked the question, what difference does it make? And he says, much in every way. These are the people that have been given the oracles of the Most High. If we're going to be that people that the Most High has chosen, the people that he uses, that he has given the law, statutes, and commandments, and he's even said that I've not dealt with any other nation this way, then it is very important to understand that I have to have a proper attitude, a proper perspective towards his people, towards those that he has given the oracles to, those that he has given his commandments to, those that he has chosen to be a light, because I need to learn. As I watch how they are dealt with and how he deals with them, there's much I need to learn. But if I'm going to get caught up in my own self-pride, get caught up in my own abilities, my own beauty, my own greatness, then understand I'll be judged. The precedent has already been set. The nations that will be judged they'll have to answer to how they have behaved and how they have dealt with Israel. You may say, well, America has only done that. America was the one that put them through chattel slavery. We ain't had nothing to do with that. But did you go into their rescue? Were you there as a support for them? Or did you say, aha? Did you look to them and say, hey, we feel what you're going through. We understand. And then rise up in power and do nothing. Then you'll become a staff of reed. No support to the people in their calamity. We see that a precedent has been set. Because if he's judged these nations for the same reason and does not judge the other nations for the exact same reason, then he owes these nations an apology. We're not going to see the Most High apologize to these nations. But what we're going to see is a continual punishment and judgment falling upon the nations that sat back and watched as the children went through and suffered, and they lifted no finger. But they've also instructed in even their own people don't get involved with the Negroes. When you go to America, don't get involved with the black people of America. They're at the bottom. They're suffering. They are the people that will not rise, that as if to say that they don't have an Elohim. If this is the instruction that the nations around about are giving the people as they come into the United States, that alone is something that they will be judged for. And you say, well, why would they say that? Well, I've heard them say it. Those very words. They come, and as I'm driving them around and we're talking about their first trip to the United States, and as they're talking about how they're going to accomplish things, and they begin to confide and say, yeah, we were told not to hang with the black people in the United States. I'm like, wow. Why? They say because we at the bottom. Mm-hmm. They're looking for them to rise to the top. They're looking for their families and their people to come to rise to the top, but they're not concerned about those that are at the bottom. They're saying stay away from them. Mm-hmm. But if a nation knows that we're at the bottom, and if this nation knows that we're at the bottom struggling and being oppressed, and then they come in support of their own people, but leave us with no support. Scripture has already given us a precedent. They will be judged because of it. Because you were willing to support your own, but you were not willing to support the Most High when they were going through calamity. So it is important to know who the people are. It is important to do your best to try to be a blessing to them. The Most High is not saying just do it, but he's saying do it and I'll bless you because of what you've done. I will bless you for the support that you have given. I will bless you as you look to those that I've chosen to give them help and support. But we've seen through Ezekiel how they were going left and right into judgment because of the lack of support. Back to 35.
35.
6 verse. Let's go back up to 5.
Okay. Because you have had a continuous enmity and handed the children of Israel over to the power of the sword at the time of their calamity, at the time of the crookedness of the end. Mm-hmm. Therefore, as I live, declares the Master Yehezqėl, I shall appoint you for blood, and let blood pursue you, since you did not hate blood. Therefore, blood shall pursue you.
Since you did not go in and protect, but you also took part in this, that blood that has been shed, you're going to have to answer for. Judgment is falling upon Mount Seir and the nations of that mountainous regions, the Edomites. Continue.
And I shall make Mount Seir a ruin and a waste, and cut off from it the one who leaves and the one who returns.
So I'm going to cut off the ones that leave and the ones that return. Nobody's going to get away from this. Just because you see Mount Seir suffering and struggling, you can say, well, I'm going to pack my bags and move on to escape the hand of the Most High. You think, I'm going to deal with the ones that leave too. Just like he says that for us. These curses are what? Pursue us. Didn't make a difference where we went to in the four corners of the earth. We weren't going to be able to escape this just by packing our bags and saying, you know what, I'm done. I don't want to be of the chosen people. I'm going to move in, start blending in with the other nations, start anew, start afresh. I think that somehow I would be able to escape the curses. But he said, no, the curse is going to pursue you no matter where you go. Continue.
And shall fill its mountains with the slain, those slain by the sword, falling on your hills, and in your valleys, and in your ravines.
I'm going to fill the mountains with your slain, those that have perished.
I shall make you an everlasting ruin, and your cities uninhabited, and you shall know that I am Yehezqėl.
And when you see these things come to pass, understand you have a responsibility to recognize where this is coming from. Why? Because it should change your behavior, your attitude. If you can survive this, which should be the next step? Worship. Mm-hmm. Why? Because now you know who the true living Elohim is. Why? Because he's prophesied it beforehand. You bend that knee, you submit, and you give worship to the Most High. Even though your people are struggling and suffering because of their sin, maybe hopes that you could live and find mercy. Continue.
Because you have said, these two nations and these two lands are mine, and we shall possess them, although Yahweh was there.
So the Most High is looking over his land, and he's seeing how the children are going into bondage because of their wickedness and their sin. He is punishing his children, and then a nation sitting in a mountain is looking over the two nations and saying, you know what? As soon as he gets them out of their land, we're going in and we're going to take over. We're going to build, and that's going to be our land. This is why I say that those that have taken our land now, they're sitting in a hot seat because they cannot escape judgment. Because they've come in and not only possessed the land that does not belong to them, but they've also claimed to be the chosen people.
And they've accepted billions of dollars from this country who has propped them up. So how does that work out? He who blesses Israel, I will bless. And he who curses Israel, I will curse, because they've been blessing the wrong people to the tune of billions of dollars. And then the church is here. Add on top of the billions, even more millions. Blessing who? The wrong people. Not the people of the Most High. So that's a testimony against them.
All of the billions that have been sent over here, not over here, but sent into Israel, to a nation that it doesn't belong to, all of that they have to pay back. The Most High is keeping account. But they have the nations around the world are deceiving those that are given the money to send all of this wealth to a people that it doesn't belong. You said, well, don't the nations that are sending it because they were trying to be a help and a blessing? Well, they know who they're sending it to. This nation knows that that is not true Israel. It knows who it has captive in its lands, and all the other nations know as well. But yet they play the game and send money and finances to create an illusion that they're following the will of the Most High when they know in their hearts that they're following a lie. They will be judged. Go ahead.
11. Therefore, as I live, declares the Master Yahweh, I shall do according to your displeasure and according to your envy, which you showed in your hatred against them. And I shall make myself known among them when I judge you.
So I'm going to make myself known. Again, we say, when judgment falls, he's making himself known who he is because he's prophesying this beforehand. This is not a mystery as to why these people are going through what they're going through. He sent a prophet to let them know what judgment they're about to go into and why they're going into it. So when you see that judgment happen, the Most High is revealing himself to this nation. Will you pay attention? Will you watch? Will you understand? When we go through Deuteronomy 28 explains that will be on his people as a sign. The nation should be able to look. The scriptures are here for them to read, and they send in they're educated to schools, their seminaries to read this. Deuteronomy 28 says that these curses are going to be on his people as a sign, so you should know who his people are. But if you know who his people are and you sit back with a blind eye and continue to perpetrate the lie, then you set yourself up for judgment. See?
And you shall know that I am Yahweh. I have heard all your scorns, which you have spoken against the mountains of Yisrael, saying, They are laid waste. They were given to us for food.
Oh, this is for us now. We can take this. This is ours. The Most High is judged his people and laid his mountains and his land waste. We can go in. And they knew the land, who the land belongs to, because they said it, that this is his land, that he was there. They know he's there. They know that that land belongs to Israel, but because they're getting ready to go into captivity, they feel like, okay, now this is food for us. We can go in and we can take all of the blessings of the children.
Kind of sounds like what the churches are saying today. We're spiritual Israel. And natural Israel has been done away with. Therefore, we get all the blessings that belong to them.
Dangerous doctrine.
Replacement theology.
That's a dangerous doctrine. Because we see already a precedent laid out for those that think that they can go in and possess what belongs to the children. If you think you're going to be able to do that, go in and say that, well, it belongs to us now. You see nations being judged because of that. And he said, not only judged in a way that he's going to get them out, but he says, no, I'm going to line your corpses up in the mountain. He doesn't take lightly to that attitude that you're going to come in and replace his children because of what they're going through. This is not why they're going through that, so that you can come in and replace them. This is not why they are suffering, so that you can go in with your attitude that you're Elohim and that y'all are a mighty nation and that y'all are the ones that are beautiful and that y'all are the ones that are doing right. Because this is what the churches are saying. We're spiritual Israel because we're following the scriptures. A made-up version of the scripture. Because they're coming in and saying that we don't even have to follow the law. So the very thing that the children are being punished for, you think you could come in and claim to be these people and receive just the blessings. You're setting yourself up for judgment. And you will be judged, because the Most High, if he doesn't, he owes these nations an apology. Okay?
And with your mouth you have boasted against me, and increased your words against me. I myself have heard.
Most High said, I've heard it. You're not getting away with your attitude. You may not getting away with the condition of your heart. I've heard your words. I know why you're doing what you're doing. You're not going to escape judgment.
So who else has that boastful spirit against Yahuwah? Sounds kind of like anti-Mattithyahu spirit. You see that today. The Hasatan boasted against Yahuwah. Said he would set his throne up above Yahuwah's. That rebellion. So this is nothing new. There's nothing new under the sun. So we see where they're getting their spirit from. That anti-Mashiach spirit. That spirit that's against Yahuwah. And that is why there is a battle going on right now in the Shamaim, or in the supernatural. That's why we fight a battle every day, not against flesh and blood, but against spiritual wickedness in high places. You heard him referring to the mountains, spiritual wickedness in high places. This boastful spirit that comes against the Most High, trying to usurp power.
Continue.
Thus said the Master Yahweh, as all the earth is rejoicing, I shall make you a ruin. As you rejoice because the inheritance of the house of Israel was laid waste, so I do to you. Be a ruin, O Mount Seir, as well as all of Edom, all of it. And they shall know that I am Yahweh.
All of you. All of it. He reiterates. to me. Because I think it's a serious indictment against a nation that thinks that it can go in and do and have its way with those promises that belong not to them, but belong to the children. Edom has consistently had an issue with Israel to try to take what belongs to them. And the Most High is showing what he does to those that have this attitude. Instead of the church striving to say that we are replacing them, they should have been trying to find them through the scripture so that they could be a help and a blessing to the children, so that they could cling to the children with hopes of being blessed by the Most High for the support of the children. But instead, they perpetrate the lie that the nation that the children are held captive in, and then turn and do like those that have physically gone in and taken hold of the land and said that they're the children. They're saying that we're the spiritual children as well, and that all these promises belong to us.
So the error in that thinking is that instead of enjoining themselves to the children, they're going to replace the children. We had an example given last week. No other child can come into your home and just take your child's place. If they're with your child, they can come into your home, play with all the toys that you've gotten for your children, but they can't just show up on their own and say, "Oh, I'm your child now. I'm the one that's replacing your child." No, that doesn't work. It does not work with the Most High.
36.
And you, son of man, prophesy to the mountains of Yisrael.
To the what?
Mountains of Yisrael. And you shall say, O mountains of Yisrael, hear the word of Yehovah.
Hear the word of your Lord. Always know who's speaking. Always know that the prophet is not doing anything of himself. When we see Hamashiach speak, he's saying the same thing. This I don't say anything unless the Father speak to me first concerning it. He is our example. I'm not going to do anything, nor am I going to say anything unless I hear first from Yahuwah.
Thus said the Master Yehovah, because the enemy has said of you, Aha, the heights of old have become our possession. Therefore prophesy, and you shall say, thus said the Master Yehovah, because they laid you waste and swallowed you up on every side, so that you became the possession of the rest of the nations, and you are taken up by the lips of talkers and slandered by the people. Therefore, O mountains of Yisrael, hear the word of the Master Yehovah. Thus said the Master Yehovah to the mountains, and to the hills, to the rivers, and to the valleys, and to the deserted ruins, and to the cities that have been forsaken, which became a prey and a mocking to the rest of the nations all around.
So who is he speaking to? He's not only speaking to the mountains, but he's talking about the whole entire land. Those that would take any portion of that land, he is speaking to. Because there's judgment is getting ready to happen. Yisrael is not, that's a dangerous place to be if you don't belong there. It's a dangerous place to be when the children awaken and come into the land. It was a dangerous place when we left out of the first captivity. Spent 40 years in the wilderness getting our hearts and our minds and our ruachs ready to enter that land. And woe to the inhabitants that were there. Because judgment began to fall upon them. Why? Because they were in the wrong place, doing the wrong thing. Worshiping other mighty ones, other gods, other religious systems. And they were destroyed one by one. They didn't learn the lesson. Why? Because we see the same thing happening now. Children have been scattered because of disobedience, and other nations decide to come in and set up camp. This time, not only are they setting up camp, but they're setting up and saying that we are people, that we belong here, and that all the nations are supposed to be giving us all of their wealth and all of their riches, because we are the children. Woe to that nation, for judgment is going to fall.
Therefore, thus said the Master Yehezqeel, have I not spoken in my burning jealousy against the rest of the nations?
Have I not spoken in my jealousy? Understand that he is a jealous El. He's said it so many times. You got to get the message. I'm a jealous El. I'm not putting up with this. I have a passion for my people. I have a great love for them. I'm jealous of them. Those of y'all that are in a relationship, y'all know what that jealousy is. You know what it feels like. You could be walking through the mall. Maybe you got 5-10 feet behind your Isha, holding your child's hand, and you look up and you see a man eyeballing your Isha, looking her up and down with a lustful eye. He ain't got to say a word. He ain't got to put a hand on her. But something gonna rise up in you. The Most High said, I'm a jealous El. He's jealous over his people. So he doesn't take it lightly that you're going in and trying to replace Israel. To go in and take what belongs to his chosen people. To look at them in a mocking fashion. He wants the nations to understand, look at what's going on and why he's doing what he's doing, and then express, I'm jealous over my people and my land that I've given to them and all that I've promised them. It don't belong to none of y'all. And those that have taken advantage of that, have gone in and thought that they could go in and possess, even the thought that they were better in any way. He's judging them. Read on.
And against all Edom, who gave my land to themselves as a possession, with all joy of heart.
Oh, they went in with joy of heart. They dancing, banging on the tambourines, skipping through the hills, thinking that that they're gonna go in and that that the children are gone, and we can just go in and just take all the blessings, all of the wealth that the Most High have for them. It belongs to us now. We go in there with great joy.
But they're trying to do that without keeping Torah. You can't approach the Most High in the way that you want to build up your Asherah pole in the high places and think that you're going to worship any other power any other way. They want our inheritance, but they don't want to keep Torah. Even the people who are over there claiming to be us now, they don't keep Torah. They're following a Talmud. And so, when you say you can tell a tree by its fruit, and you look at their fruit, and you see they have the largest gay parade in the world in Tel Aviv. What is their fruit saying about them? When you see that they're all the iniquity and the way that they are behaving themselves, what does that fruit say about them? When you see that Scripture says that when the children come back into the land that there will be peace, but there's no peace. Since 1948, there's been no peace in the land. What is that telling you? These are not the children. It doesn't matter what they say, because they have nothing to prove it. Even their very DNA can't prove any link to our inheritance.
With all joy of heart, with scorn in their being, to drive it out for a prey. Therefore prophesy concerning the land of Israel, and you shall say to the mountains, and to hills, to rivers, and to valleys, thus said the Master Yehovah, see, I have spoken in my jealousy and my wrath, because you have borne the shame of the nations.
Because you've borne the shame of the nations. Just like what Maury was saying, he is pointing out how they brought in gay parades, how they brought in a devilish book called the Talmud, how they follow that, and how they have brought into the land. They claim it. They've come in to possess the Most High's land that belongs to the children. They've taken on the name. They've caused the rest of the nations to be a blessing to them, and they brought in the profane thing. They have brought into the land the shame of all the nations.
They've defiled the land. They've defiled the land. Let's call it what it is.
This is why judgment is going to fall on them. Because of that defilement. Because of what they've done. Continue.
Therefore, thus said the Master Yehovah, I have lifted my hand in an oath that the nations that are around you shall bear their own shame.
They're going to bear their own shame. He said, I'm as an oath. I lifted up my hand in an oath. This is why we're going to see the same thing happen with the nations round about now. Because the oath still stands. He ain't back down off of that. Because he said, I'm not going to utterly destroy my people, so his people still exist. He says that and we're going to find that he's going to bring them back into the land. It's been his plan all along. But if this is his plan, and he comes back and finds other people that squatted on his land, oh, they got to go. Because I done said in an oath in my wrath, I'm not dealing with this matter. This is for my children. Those that belong to him, his chosen. He's saying, I said it in my jealousy. Again, you know what that jealousy feels like. That is not a good place. You don't want to get in between a man and his Isha. When that jealousy arises, you're gonna find a strength in that man that you didn't know existed. Continue.
But you, O mountains of Yisrael, put forth your branches and bear you fruit to my people Yisrael.
Bear your fruit to the nations.
To my people Yisrael.
Bear your fruit to the church.
To my people Yisrael. For they are about to come.
They are about to come. Now we're getting into future prophecies about what is going, what the land is going to do as the people are being, that have been scattered to the four corners are coming back. What is the people are about to come back to the land, and the land is given instructions. We were talking about that this morning when we just before prayer. We're talking about how the trees are coming into blossom. Why? Because they're obeying the Moedim that the Most High has set for them. And so they're doing what they're supposed to do. All creation follows in obedience as to what the Most High instructs it to do. The Most High is instructing the land to prepare itself for the people, and this is why we see flooding in the desert that has never happened in recorded history. We're seeing the deserts blossom now. Why? Because of what the scripture is being said right here. That it's preparing itself for the children to come back. It didn't blossom when when the enemy was there, when those that weren't supposed to be there, those that were calling themselves Israel, we didn't see the desert blossom. But we're seeing the desert blossom now. Why? Because it's preparing itself for what? It says, he said, for Israel, for they are about to come. And there's an explanation point behind that. That is to be shouted from the mountaintops as he is instructing the land to respond to the children as they are about to come. Continue.
For look, I am for you, and I shall turn to you, and you shall be tilled and sown.
I'm for you. Talking to Israel. I'm for you. I'm for the chosen people. This land is about to blossom. Why? Because I'm for you. I'm not for these perpetrators, these liars, but the true people. Okay?
And I shall increase men upon you, all the nations of Israel, all of
the world,
the nations, the house of Israel,
all the church,
all the house of Israel,
whosoever will come,
all the house of Israel, all of it. And the city shall be inhabited and the ruins rebuilt. And I shall increase upon you man and beast, and they shall increase and bear young. And I shall make you inhabited as of old, and do better for you than at your beginnings. And you shall know that I am Yehova.
Hallelujah.
It's going to be unlike anything that has ever been. In this second Exodus, when we go back, after he's done instructed the land to blossom and to bloom for his people, it's going to be better than it was at the beginning. So when we look at it, it's going to be unlike anything anybody has ever seen in that region of the world. Continue.
And I shall let men, my people, Yisrael, my people, Yisrael, walk upon you, and let them possess you, and you shall be their inheritance, and no longer let you add to their bereavement.
So the land ain't going to put us through nothing. When this is over with, even the land is going to bless us. No longer are we going to have to struggle and strive. No longer are we going to have to settle for being at the bottom. The land itself is going to make sure that we don't. Why? As an ordinance that came direct from the Most High.
Is going to yield its fruit to us. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Thus said the Master Yehovah, because they say to you, you devour men and have bereaved your nation. Therefore, you shall no longer devour men and no longer bereave your nation, declares the Master Yehovah.
So what he's saying is that they look at the land now and they see the struggles that have been going on there since we left. And they know it's a hard place to live. There's deserts all over the place, and it takes a lot of work, and it devours men as they try to go in and live there and try to go in and take possession of it. War constantly for all of those that go in because of the blood that was shed when our people were chased out of that place. But he said, no longer is that going to happen in the land. When we get there, the land is going to be responding in favor and in blessing for his children.
And no longer shall I let you hear the insults of the nations, and the reproach of the peoples you shall bear no more, and no longer cause your nations to stumble, declares the Master Yehovah.
We're not going to hear that insults of it. You ain't going to be called nigger no more. You're not going to be called monkey and all these kind of other names that they want to pin to you. Most High going to shut the mouth of all of the nations because he's going to reveal to the nations who we truly are. Continue.
And the word of Yehovah came to me saying,
Who said it?
The Most High.
The Most High, the word of Yehovah is saying this so that you know that this ain't no fly-by-night word. This ain't somebody just dreaming, somebody that's just got high hopes, somebody that just got a wild imagination. But this is coming from somebody that can make it happen.
That's right. Son of man, when the house of Israel dwelt in their own land, they defiled it by their own ways and deeds, to make their way.
Go ahead.
To me, their way was like the uncleanness of a woman in her monthly period.
So, this is why they're not here now. Because you went in and you tried to do your own thing. Again, this is the lessons that we should learn. This is why we have our scriptures. And this is why we go in and we see what we did wrong, where we messed up, how we defiled the land, how we defiled ourselves, how we brought an ill repute to the name of the Most High. We've got this, we understand. If we understand that we know that we've got to turn. We got to make a 180-degree turn and go the opposite direction and start serving Him, being obedient to His laws, statutes, and commandments, and not bringing in any other matters before the Most High, but to bring before Him those things that He instructed. We don't bring in any other religious system. How did He tell you to dress? How did He tell you to act? How did He tell you to pray? Who is your Elohim? Don't be bringing in some other name, some other way of doing things. He's given us instructions and guidance as to how we're supposed to do that. And to do anything of it is to cause our own demise. And this is what He's pointing out. This is what it looked like when you were doing all of this other stuff, because this is the work of it. Like a woman on her period. No value in that.
In verse 18, he's going to give us two reasons why he did what he did. He's going to give us two reasons in verse 18. And in verse 19, he's going to tell us what he did as a result of the two things that we did that defiled the land.
So I poured out my wrath on them for the blood they had shed on the land.
For what?
The blood they had shed on the land. And for their idols they defiled it.
For their idols they defiled. Are we still holding up idols? Are we still holding up idols? Many of us are holding up idols and don't even know we're doing it, because that's the way of this nation. That's what they teach us. That's what they show us on the commercials. Idols. We think that if I wear a specific tennis shoe, then I can obtain abilities that go beyond. That's an idol. They put that before us. Why are people knocking down doors trying to get Jordans? Because the shoe itself has become an idol to them. And who is doing it more than anybody? Many of our people have not learned the lesson. They're going to be judged because of that.
Wherefore I poured out my fury upon them for the blood that they had shed upon the land, and for their idols wherewith they had polluted it.
You wear a cross around your neck. You got some people that are willing to lose their job to go back and get that cross because they forgot to put it on. Know that they on their last tardy. Can't be late no more. They're gonna lose their job. They gonna get to work on time, but I forgot my cross.
They gotta have that graven image around them.
That item. Going back and get it, put it on, and then be praying, thinking that they done a good thing. Or because I didn't put my cross on, I went back for a good thing. That the Most High gonna bless me when I get back to work. He gonna work everything out. No, you went back for an idol. You went back for an idol. We need to ask ourselves, is there anything that we have put in between the Most High and Him in order to have a relationship? Ask yourself that. Because no matter what it is, you have created an idol. And the Most High does not take kindly to that. He wants to be worshipped in spirit and in truth. It has to be a direct relationship. Nothing in between that. No cross. Don't even put this book between Him. Don't put your garment between Him, your fringes. You find out you know, two of your zits that fell off somewhere, you don't know where they at. Is your day gonna go bad? Is somehow the day gonna go wrong because two of my zits fell off? Did that bring you closer to the Most High because you're wearing your tzitzis? Because if that's your attitude, you've made an idol out of tzitzis.
Okay.
It's not the color of your tzitzis, it's the condition of your heart
That's right.
that he's looking at.
Right.
Most people confuse that because they think that an idol's got to be some statue posted up in the middle of the woods somewhere. It could be sitting around your table. It could be sitting, across your room in the form of a TV screen. It could be holding your hand as you walk through the mall. You could be changing the diapers of your idols. You could be playing the strings of your idols.
This could be an idol.
The idol could be the mic that you speak it through. How many of y'all want a relation? You got your son, and your son picks up or creates an idol to have a relationship with you. This is my daddy's shoe. So anytime my daddy's not around, I know that I'm close to my daddy because I got his shoe in my hand. And so he begins to talk to the shoe. Daddy, I'm hungry. Daddy, I need a new pair of jeans. And you're going to be looking at your son like he's crazy. Boy, I'm standing here. Have a relationship with me. Not my shoes. Not the things that I wear, but the things that, but the relationship belongs between me and you. But that's what the Most High is jealous of, because we have taken idols and we put them in place in between him, and so we worship him, we communicate with him, and we have a relationship with him with things. Mm-hmm. That's idol worship, y'all. And we have to be careful because it's a subtleness that can cause us to slip up. We have to have a pure and direct relationship with him.
Hallelujah.
You want to know how serious it is? Read verse 19.
And I scattered them among the nations.
What?
Scattered them among the nations, and they were dispersed throughout the lands. I have judged them according to their ways and their deeds.
Because of the blood you shed, because of your idol worship, because you would not focus on the relationship that he desired to have with you, scattered us all over the place. Because he doesn't take kindly to this. We are a light to the nation. The nations, all of creation is looking to us to understand what it is to have a relationship with the Most High. And if we're doing it with wood and stone, then we're screwing up everything. And the Most High is not going to take kind to that, and he's going to punish us, and he's going to punish us harshly. That's why we're here in this condition that we're in now, because we didn't get it then. And many are not getting it now.
No, because when you look at verse 20, it tells you what we did when he put us out of our land. What did we do when we came to this land? Oh my gosh, he's about to tell us.
Okay. And when they came to the nations, wherever they went, they profaned my set-apart name.
They did what?
Profaned my set-apart name.
So your behavior, your very behavior, even when you were scattered, even when you were in punishment, even when you were going through the curses, if you didn't turn, you're profaning the name of the Most High. You're continuing to bring about the same behavior that caused us to go through cursing. We're continuing to do the same thing and bringing upon us the same amount of punishment. Continue.
My name for it was said to them, these are the people of Yehovah, and yet they have gone out of his land.
So the people are looking. We're claiming to be Hebrew Israelites, and the people are looking. Okay, what does that look like? How are they behaving? Are we profaning his name still?
There are many that professed the heritage, standing out on the corners now, treating people in a manner which is unbecoming, obviously displaying that they don't have the Ruach HaKodesh. They're standing out on the corner, saying that there is people, and people are watching them. And then when you come up and say, I identify as a Hebrew Israelite, they're looking at you, but they're thinking of them.
Mm-hmm.
They're thinking of those people that they've seen out on the corner acting out. Those people that claiming the heritage, but their fruit. What is their fruit? What is their fruit?
They're profaning the name of the Most High in the nations of which they were scattered. See?
But I had compassion on my set-apart name, which the house of Yisrael had profaned among the nations
Okay,
wherever they
who do you
went.
have compassion on?
His name.
So many people think that it's all about us. It's all about you. Yeah, he's jealous. Yes, he loves you with an amazing love. But understand this and don't get it twisted. That it's about him. Because he had compassion. He for his name's sake,
Mm-hmm.
he is not totally wiping us out. For his name's sake.
But I had pity for my Kodeshim, which the house of Yisrael has profaned among the heathen, whither they went. For his name.
So I found this study or project, Jude 3 project, and they spearheaded 10 things to study before engaging Black Hebrew Israelites. This is the church. They said, as Christians apologists, we are called to defend the hope we have within us. However, we must do this strategically and not ignorantly. Many times, well-meaning believers seek out maleficent arguments or renegade crusades without adequately preparing themselves through study. This is tragic because Yahuwah calls us to be prepared and well studied for the proclamation of his word. One particular cult Christian apologists should certainly be prepared to engage are the Black Hebrew Israelites. Without preparation, a believer can walk away discouraged, deflated, and even dejected because of the strenuous effort of persuading this unique cult. Black Hebrew Israelites are often very well studied in the Bible, equipped with historical trivia, and familiar with frequent objections. They are often very passionate, and depending on the individual or cult, can be very condescending. Therefore, a soldier in the faith should be equipped, prepared, and bold to share the gospel. Below are 10 questions Christian apologists should understand and be able to answer thoroughly before engaging Black Hebrew Israelites.
Just read what they are.
Question 1, do you know how and why Christ has fulfilled the law? Question 2, do you know how we receive and translate the Bible? 3, do you know the history of the Jewish people? 4, do you know Yahuwah's redemptive plan to save all people and nations? 5, are you competent enough to have a discussion about the Hebrew language? 6, are you competent enough to have a discussion about racism and racial reconciliation? 7, do you have an accurate account of the transatlantic slave trade? 8, have you consulted the best commentaries on Deuteronomy? 9, are you aware of the Black presence in the Bible and church history? 10, do you know the camp you are reaching? And they have a boatload of scriptures and articles and all that to help them on this journey.
So rather than enjoining themselves to the children, they're looking for a way to discredit
To hold on to their fictional belief system. Because they're talking about how they translate the word. We're not translating. It's not an interpretation for us.
And this is a black
This is our history. And this is what we live by. And this is why Ezekiel, so masterfully, the Most High used him to show the same thing that is going on that was going on back then is going on in our societies today that cause us to be in the condition that we're in. They think that they can study all of those things. Even anybody on the street teaching and understanding who we are can demolish anything that they're going to come up with all that, because all we have to do is stick to the scriptures. This is not an interpretation. But we have to understand that we are waking up, and next week as we go into 37, we're going to be talking about how we're waking up and the prophecy that we would wake up and that we would come to an understanding as to who we are. And that these nations and people that have Hellenized us and twisted our thinking, how we're coming into the knowledge of the true worship and who we are. We're going to be looking at that next week.
And that was a Jake congregation.
Mm-hmm. Because again, they've been Hellenized. They bought into the religious system of this nation. But this nation, all you got to do is look. Why are we in the condition that we're in? Very simple. That's why he said it's going to be on us as a sign. All you got to do is look.
So scripture says, in the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses let a thing be established. Scripture is a witness to itself, but historical facts are also a witness. And what a lot of these people who would try to discredit what we're saying haven't done is study history to the point where they understand what the Inquisition was and what it is about. They haven't studied history enough to understand that without exception, almost all of the people that were expelled from Spain were people of color. Their children were taken away from them, sent to the islands, like San Thomas, because they would not convert to Christianity. The church itself doesn't even understand that all of these churches, all organized religion, came out of Rome. That's the first one, the mother. Martin Luther with his thesis on the door. All of the denominations came out of, first, the official religion of Rome. And many of them still practice today a lot of those things. They have carried those things with them. Look at the vestments that T.D. Jakes wears, then compare them with the Pope. Are they not the same? Is it not the same hat, the same vestments, but they claim they have no connection? You have to be a student of history, because history is also a witness. Archaeology is also a witness. The money, coins, numismatics, also a witness.
Written all over it, exactly what they believe. Written all over it.
So our money says, in God we trust. But as the apostle said to the men of Ephesus, which God? I was reading that account this morning. Which God are you trusting in? Are you trusting in Yahuwah? The earth and the fullness thereof belongs to him. Are you trusting in another power? Are you bringing a different gospel? Are you preaching a different gospel? Not what it says in here, but the one that comes from the traditions of men. We have to be careful. Most of our people are still swallowed up in false doctrines and false teachings. And Hamashiach said it was going to be that way in the latter days.
Therefore say to the house of Yisrael, 22. Therefore say to the house of Yisrael, thus said the Master Yehovah, I do not do this for your sake, O house of Yisrael, but for my set apart name's sake, which you have profaned among the nations wherever you went. And I shall set apart my great name, which has been profaned among the nations, which you have profaned in their midst. And the nations shall know that I am Yehovah, declares the Master Yehovah, when I am set apart in you before their eyes.
So he's saying, when I'm set apart in you before their eyes. So he's still going to be using you to straighten out his name. He has chosen a people, and all that he is going to accomplish, he's going to do through his people. Even though it's not the people in which I'm doing this for. I'm doing it, he says he's doing it for his great name.
Right.
But even in setting his name apart, he's going to use the people that he's chosen.
That's right.
So how can he be sanctified in us before their eyes? We have to be Kodesh. As he is Kodesh.
That's right.
If we're anything less, how can we be sanctified? How can we sanctify him in their eyes? Unless we're keeping his commandments, guarding his precepts, and holding to the testimony of a Mattithyahu.
So the Most High knows that he's going to be working in a remnant. Because he's shown us throughout the scripture. And he's even shown us as as this prophet is speaking, how the people have gone and profaned his name. But yet he's still claiming that I'm going to show before the nations a set apartness in himself. With you. How is he going to do that? Because he's going to be dealing with a remnant. He knows that there's going to be a remnant. And that remnant we're striving to be part of in this last day, as we are striving to follow and to do his will. It can't be a game. We're not here to be entertained. We're not here to entertain. But we've got to understand what it is to be set apart. We've got to understand that the nations and the people around us, even those that are of our same nation, there are going to be those that are not going to serve him, but we still have to serve him. If we're planning on being part with him, then we've got to be set apart. We have to be salt, set apart, live in Torah. Read.
And I shall take you from among the nations, and I shall gather you out of all the lands, and I shall bring you into your own land, and I shall sprinkle clean water on you, and you shall be clean.
He's going to clean us up, and I look forward to that. When we came here, I said this is going to be a place where the Most High can begin the healing process. A process of cleaning us up from all the mess we've been through. We need to be washed with the pure, clean water of his word. We need to be cleaned up in ways we don't even understand we need to be cleaned up. But we've got to be in a place, we have to have a heart and a mindset to allow him to clean us up. If we're holding on to our old ways, if we're holding on to what we believe is right, and we're not allowing him to come in and show us where we're dirty and where we need to, then we're not going to be properly clean. You ever try to wash a toddler up that don't know that he needs to be clean? He don't want you. No. I mean, you got to move him around, lift up his arm, lift up his leg. You got to get. I got to wash in places you don't want nobody to. You don't want nobody to see and understand. So do we. Because we've been in a cesspool here.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna do our best to try to get clean, to get clean as much as we can. But understand that he's got to finish that work, because other than that, we're just not gonna be ready.
From all your filthiness and from all your idols, I cleanse you. And I shall give you a new heart.
A what?
A new heart.
We're gonna need a new heart. Mm-hmm.
And put a new spirit
A
within
new
you.
spirit. He's gonna have to change it from the inside. Because see, all of what the nations have been reading about in our scripture, our history, all of what we've been through as a people, we've been through because of our disobedience. And he's saying, okay, this is it. I'm gonna give them a new heart, a new ruach. Because you're not gonna see this. All of this history is over with. All of this is just gonna be for learning from now on, for the nations to understand what not to do. But we, as his chosen people, will never go through this mess again, because we will get it. He's going to change us from the very DNA, so that we will never be disobedient again. Then,
And I shall take the heart of stone out of your flesh, and I shall give you a heart of flesh.
something that's going to be sensitive to his word. Right now, it's a heart of stone. It's got to be written, chiseled in there. But when we have a heart, then I mean every aspect about us desires to be obedient. It's not just about what's written, but it's in me to do it.
Mm-hmm. And put my spirit within you.
What?
And put my spirit within you.
Put my spirit within you.
And I shall cause you to walk in my laws and guard my right rulings and shall do them.
So he's going to put in us his spirit. So that same ruach that was in Hamashiach, that was caused him to live this out perfectly, is going to be in us.
So understand that you can't have one of these without the other. You can't keep the commandments and not have the ruach. You need both of them. You have to have oil in your lamp. One without the other gets you nothing. If you keep the commandments, but you don't have the ruach, his ruach in you, you're missing a big important piece. You have to have both of them. Your heart has to be right. You have to keep his commandments, guard his precepts, and you have to have his ruach. He said, I will put my ruach within you and cause you to walk in my statutes. So the ruach within us is what causes us to want to be obedient.
It's going to give us that drive, that zeal. It's going to be like breathing. Try not to breathe. I've never heard of anybody dying because they just held their breath and decided, I'm not breathing no more. Because everything in you is going to cause you to breathe. You have to physically restrict the breathing. You can't stop it on your own.
Right.
You have to physically restrict it. When his ruach is in us, everything, every molecule in our being is going to cry out to follow his commandments and his right ruling. It will be an impossibility for us to go against that, because his spirit is in us. It will drive us. Okay?
And you shall dwell in the land that I gave to your fathers, and you shall be my people, and I shall be your Elohim. And I shall save you from all your uncleanness, and I shall call for the grain and increase it, and I shall bring no scarcity of food upon you, and I shall increase the fruit of your trees and the increase of your fields, so that you need never again bear the reproach of scarcity of food among the nations.
We won't have to go without in any way, form, or fashion. Making sure that because we've been at the bottom for so long that none of this will ever happen to us again. The very land itself has been given instructions to make sure that we don't go through scarcity. We see these trees bloom, blossom, and they get these little buds on. Then they're gonna blossom into flowers and leaves, and everything is gonna get green. Why? Because they're following Moedim. They're gonna have a new set of instructions. Make sure my people don't go through scarcity. I don't care what season it is, but there's gonna be fruit on that tree. There's going to be something for them to eat and something for them to have. Why? Because they've been through this enough. And they'll never have to go through scarcity again. See?
And you shall remember your evil ways and your deeds that were not good. And you shall loathe yourselves in your own eyes for your crookedness and your abominations.
We will know. We're not going to forget what we've been through. We're not going to forget what we were. There will be a clear difference. You will understand how you are today and what you are when he puts his ruach in you. When he changes you, he's not going to take away the memory of what it was that you felt. So you're going to know the difference. And you're going to loathe what you were. So that you can and fully take joy into what he has created and what he has made you to be.
Not for your sake am I acting.
And now, keep still letting you know so that you get it straight. I'm not doing this for your sake. I'm not doing this for your sake. Continue.
Declares the Master Yehovah. Let it be known to you. Be ashamed and blush for your ways, O house of Yisrael.
Mm-hmm.
Thus said the Master Yehovah. On the day that I cleanse you from all your crookedness, I shall cause the cities to be inhabited, and the ruined places shall be rebuilt.
So I'm going to do this simultaneously. I'm going to be putting a new spirit in you, and I'm going to be causing that city. We're going to be going into our second Exodus, and he's going to be changing us as we are being placed in that place of promise. Okay.
And the land that was laid waste, tilled instead of being a ruin before the eyes of all who pass by. And they shall say, this land that was laid waste has become like the Garden of Eden.
And I find that amazing. This is going to be so beautiful when we get there, that the nations all around, when they look at what the Most High has prepared for his children, they will look at it and it will in their eyes be nothing less than the very Garden of Eden.
So no more will they be able to say, aha!
Right.
Because the land is going to yield its fruit to us, and it will be undeniable who the children are then. Because they've been in the land pretending to be us and purporting to be us since 1948. They haven't seen any of this.
Ain't nobody saying that look like the land of Eden. Garden of Eden.
Looks like a desert and a waste place.
Right.
But when we return, this is what he says he's going to do.
I mean, so many people when they was watching Black Panther were in awe and then gasping when they saw Wakanda. Oh, that ain't, that's ghetto compared to what the Most High got for him. That's a ghetto. Because the place that he has and that he's going to prepare and has prepared for is going to be unlike anything any man has ever seen in his life. And that's why they're going to go back all the way to the creation itself. This looks just like the Garden of Eden. This is the most amazing thing I've ever seen in my life. Continue.
And wasted the wasted desert, and the deserted and the destroyed cities are now walled and inhabited.
Mm-hmm.
Then the nations which are left all around you shall know that I, Yehovah, have rebuilt the destroyed places and planted what was laid waste.
So, I mean, you won't have any other, I mean, what other reason will you be able to give, say that how this has happened? It has to be Yahuwah that has did this. Because man couldn't have done it. Man couldn't have created such beauty. It has to be Yahuwah that has done this. This has to be his people. See?
I, Yahuwah, have spoken it, and I shall do it.
So I've spoken it now, and so he's got to do it. That's his word.
So you know his word doesn't return to him void, right?
That's right.
But it's going to accomplish the purpose for which he sends it.
So if he says that this is his word and that he's going to do it, where does replacement theology come in? I'm going to bring my people back and I'm going to give them something unlike anything you've ever seen in anything. You can't come up with a computer's visual to show what he's getting ready to do. But yet, the churches preach that they replaced us. Doesn't line up with scripture.
Thus said the Master Yehovah, once again I shall let the house of Israel inquire of me to do for them.
Hallelujah.
That means he's going to turn his face towards us. Once again, I'm going to let them inquire of me again. They could come to me like father and son and have a conversation and inquire of him. Oh, I long for that day. I long for that day. How many prayers do we have that we've given, wanting relief, wanting things to change, wanting the environment to be different, wanting this to be lifted because of this curse that we're going through. And once again, he said, and when we get to this point, I'm going to listen to them. They're going to be able to ask of me, request of me, anything my children are going through, anything that they're struggling with, he's going to respond like a father.
I shall increase their men like a flock, as a set-apart flock, as the flock at Jerusalem at her appointed times. So shall the wasted cities be filled with flocks of men, and they shall know that I am Yehovah.
Now, when all the nations, because everybody was required to bring in sacrifice. And so if every man in Israel had to report and to show up and to bring sacrifices for them, their families, their children, they're coming with flocks. Every man is. And that place is combing with livestock. The Most High said that that's what it's going to look like when I bring my children back. They're going to increase, and the men are going to be combing that place like, and it's going to look like they're all, what it looks like when all the flocks come in for the appointed season, for the feast days. We're not going to be short. There's not going to be a shortage of men. There's not going to be a shortage of his people. But we're going to increase. We're going to be blessed. And we're going to flourish in that land. It is an amazing promise. And the Most High said, I said it, and I'm going to do it.
With all this that we've been going over, us as a nation, as Israel, we got to do a better job with the poor, the widows, and the orphans. We don't want to get prophesied against like what we're reading about, the people and the nations and the land. Children of Israel, you are mine. Even in captivity, I fed you. I clothed you. I gave you shelter. I gave you daily bread. The excess you threw away or you put in your cabinet. I clothed you. Gave you many garments for each season. And you gave not to the poor. I gave you shelter, and you locked your gates and turned off your lights. You coveted what I gave you. Therefore, I'm judging you. We don't. You got to do a better job with what he's given us.
Hallelujah. And that is true. There are those of us that have opportunities and are in a position to be able to bring relief to those that are that have less. We know what Torah says concerning the poor amongst us. It's always been part of the vision of salt that when we start growing our food, to go into our communities and give away food from the excess of what the Most High has given.
Hallelujah.
I made a practice long ago when I started getting tips. I realized I'm in a position to get tips, get cash. Daily. And I was finding my people to be able to be a blessing to them. There was a time I didn't keep any of my tips. Every tip I got, I took it as this was given to me to give to by the Most High to give to my people. And yes, we got to get better. It's got to be part of how we go about our lives, thinking about our people, thinking about His chosen people. Because regardless of whether or not they're obedient, we've seen in here. Because He was judging these nations because of the way that they were dealing with Israel in their disobedience. Mm-hmm. He was getting on Pharaoh and Mitzrayim for not being a support to them, even though He told Israel, don't go to them for support. But because they did out of disobedience, and then Mitzrayim did not return back what they said, they were punished. So don't look at the poor and say, well, they ain't serving. They ain't even thinking about it. You're right, they might not be of the remnant. You're right, they may be slated for judgment because of their disobedience. But who are we to hold back anything from His chosen? We don't put them in judgment. Nor do we participate in the judgment of His children. So what did He say about it? What has He instructed us to do to His children as we deal with our poor amongst us? Let's not judge that. Let's not put anything on anything back on it. Well, he's on drugs. Yeah, I know him. He ain't he ain't do right with the last $5 I gave him. No, that's not for you. That's not for you. Not for us to be able to judge and to hold back any blessings to that individual. That is one of the Most High's chosen seed. The Most High will deal with His children. We just do what we're supposed to do to bless His children.
Hallelujah.
I needed us to see and understand how the nations are going to be judged so that we don't fall into that same category. We need to understand that the way we think about what our people are dealing with and what we go through, the Most High can take great offense, even though we're striving to live Torah. You might see yourself as being in the right place, doing the right thing, following his laws, statutes, and commandments, but then despise the very people that he has chosen because of what they're going through. They're going through what they're going through because of disobedience, but none of us were given to participate in disciplining any one of his children.
Okay.
And the nations that thought that they could come in and look and say, aha, or yeah, or now I can go in and have that, or yeah, that's what they get. Anybody that's had those attitudes, that nation was being judged.
That's right.
We can't have that attitude. Understand that regardless of what we see, we understand, if we know who Israel is, why are they going through? Why are there poor amongst us? Why do we see, when we go around the homeless shelters, why is there so many black men hanging around, sitting on the stoop, struggling? Why? Because of the curse. And if we know that they're going through the curse, then we know that they're going through punishment because of disobedience. If we know that they're going through punishment because of disobedience, then we know who they are and who they belong to. And we ain't got a right to lift a finger up against it. Why? Because that's the Most High's chosen people. What are we supposed to do? What has he given to you? What has he placed in your heart? And you don't hold back at all. We do that amongst all of them. But when we come together in community, we can practice that amongst ourselves and understand what that's supposed to look like. And that's why, as we establish community, we say that we're here to make sure that everybody within this community amongst us is being taken care of. There is no rich amongst us, and there is no poor amongst us. But everybody is being provided for and taken care of, because that's the responsibility that we have amongst us as a mishpachah, as a community. We are one body, and that body and we are to take care of that body. And then when we get done taking care of this body, then we go take care. We take whatever the Most High has blessed us with to take care of His children that are suffering because of disobedience. That's our responsibility. That's our responsibility. This is what we were seeing as we went through and saw why the nations around about Israel were going through judgment, because they were mocking, holding back, not honoring who the Most High has chosen. I don't want to be amongst them. The Most High has given us great and wonderful promises. On this side of them promises, I'm not looking for anything from man. I'm not looking for any esteem, any position, any fame or any of that. I just want to fulfill whatever the Most High is trying to accomplish in His people. We're at the cusp of our second Exodus. We're right around the corner from what He just got to describing. We already see the deserts flooding and starting to bloom. If we're already seeing that, then what has the Scripture told us today? It's preparing for us to come back.
Hallelujah.
So we don't got 20 years. We already see flowers and grass growing in the desert. Trees are getting ready to sprout up and grow. Because nature is going to respond to the Most High.
That's right.
Are you? Because that grass is going to grow. Those flowers are going to bloom. Them trees are going to grow. Fruits are going to grow on trees. And lush, the Garden of Eden is starting to bloom. And it's for His people that are coming back. Are we coming back? Are we saying that I want what America is going to offer me? didn't see enough. I don't want nothing this nation can give me. My focus is on the Most High, and what He has called me to do, what He has called me to accomplish. And that I put all of my energy in. That is what I pray for. That's what I fast for. And so that I can accomplish His will. The blessings are ahead of me. So I don't need anything now. Blessings are ahead of me. When we look at Hebrews and we can see why the Messiah had the strength to go through what He did, He said, for the joy that was set before me. We just got a glimpse. We can just use our imagination, and that's still going to fall short. Just use your imagination as to what He just got through pointing out as to what our homeland is going to look like, what He's doing for us. And let that be your strength, your focal point, that joy that's ahead, because we're right at the door.
Yes.
None of us is too old to be able to experience this. We just have to make up on our hearts and our minds right now that I'm going to serve Him, that I'm going to obey Him, and I'm going to do all that is required of me. I'm going to deal with whatever I got to deal with as we move from this time of our captivity to the time in which He has created us, what He has promised, and that for us to be priests and kings.
Hallelujah.
That's what I want. All vengeance belongs to Him, because if we try to take out vengeance, try to have a heart of vengeance, we already see what that looks like. So standing on the corner talking about what these people are going to do, and what, and how we're going to come and destroy them, and what toilet seats they're going to be licking and all, no, that belongs to the Most High. If He wants that, then He'll do that. But I'm instructed to love, and that's what I'll do. I'm instructed to teach. I need to get my heart right. What He wants to do to these nations, that's above my pay grade. But that's in His hands. I don't even waste time trying to figure that out. All I know is what the Scripture said, and what the Scripture said that when these people were starting to have, when vengeance was running through their minds as to what should happen and should happen, it put them in place for them to be judged. That's how. I don't think on those terms. When I look at and say, they had that, they going through what they need, what they supposed to go through, because that's the Most High. Mm-hmm. He deals with that. I don't get in line with that. I don't sit up there and try to make it happen. That's His. But if He calls these people, He says that y'all the chosen people, then I need to be a blessing. So I will work hard for y'all. I will bend over backwards for y'all. Why? Because y'all belong to Him. Y'all are His chosen people. And y'all deserve everything I could possibly do. Every blood, sweat, tear that I have, I will give to y'all, because y'all belong to Him. And I honor His choices, because they all right ruling.
Hallelujah.
You're the right last word.
So let's hear about this desert land and these waste places that are given to the chosen people. Let me read you a portion of Yubilees chapter 8, starting at verse 12. This is what's given to the chosen seed. And there came forth on the writing as Shem's lot, the middle of the earth, which he should take as an inheritance for himself and for his sons, for the generations of eternity, from the middle of the mountain range of Rapha, from the mouth of the water from the river Tina, and his portion goes toward the west through the midst of this river, and it extends till it reaches the waters of the abysses, out of which this river goes forth and pours its waters into the sea Miat. And this river flows into the great sea, and all that is toward the north is Yehezqēl. So toward the north is Yehezqēl. And all that is toward the Negev, desert, waste place, all that is toward the Negev belongs to Shem, and it extends until it reaches Carasso. This is in the bosom of the tongue which looks toward the Negev, and his portion extends along the great sea. We're not talking about the Gaza Strip. This is not no little piece of land.
Uh-huh.
And his portion extends along the great sea, and it extends in a straight line till it reaches the west of the tongue, which looks toward the Negev. For this sea is named the tongue of the Mitzri Sea. So, tongue of the Egyptian Sea, huh? Okay. And it turns from here toward the Negev, towards the mouth of the great sea on the shore of its waters, and it extends to the west to Afra. And it extends till it reaches the waters of the river Gihon, and to the south of the waters of Gihon to the banks of this river. And it extends toward the east till it reaches the Garden of Eden. Didn't we hear something about the Garden of Eden in our lesson today?
Weird.
To the south thereof, to the south and from the east of the whole land of Eden, and of the whole east, it turns to the east and proceeds till it reaches the east of the mountain named Rapha, and it descends to the bank of the mouth of the river Tina. This portion came forth by lot for Shem and his sons, and they should possess it forever unto his generations forevermore. And Noah rejoiced that this portion came forth for Shem and for his sons, and he remembered all that he had spoken with his mouth in prophecy. For he had said, Blessed be Yahuwah Elohim of Shem, and may Yahuwah dwell in the dwelling of Shem. And he knew that the Garden of Eden is the Holy of Holies, and the dwelling of Yahuwah. And Mount Sinai in the center of the desert, and Mount Zion, the center of the navel of the earth. These three were created as Kodesh places, facing each other. And he blessed Elohim of Elohim, who had put the word of Yahuwah into his mouth, talking about Noah. And he barak Yahuwah forevermore, and he knew that a blessed portion and a blessing had come to Shem and his sons into the generations forever. The whole land of Eden, and the whole land of the Red Sea, and the whole land of the east and India, and on the Red Sea and the mountains thereof, and all the land of Bashan, and all the land of Lebanon, and the islands of Kaftur, and all the mountains of Sinir, and Amanah, and the mountains of Ashur in the north, and all the land of Elam, Ashur, and Babel. This don't sound like a little portion of land, does it?
Not at all.
And Shushan, and Madai, and all the mountains of Ararat, and all the region beyond the sea, which is beyond the mountains of Ashur toward the north. A blessed and spacious land, and all that is in it is very good. This is our inheritance. They're over there fighting over a little piece of land called the Gaza Strip, the place where the Dome of the Rock is, and they think that's it. They can't even imagine what the Most High has set apart for his people. It's a vast land. and part of where the Garden of Eden was. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
This is what we have to look forward to if we keep the commandments,
That's right.
guard his precepts, accept the testimony of, and hold to the testimony of Hamashiach. This is what we have to look forward to. This and not forgetting that we have to be filled with the Ruach. Can't have one without the other. Can't get that land if you don't do all the requirements. Keep your lamps full of oil. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Will you be ready when the bridegroom comes? Hallelujah. Let us pray.
Todah, Yahuwah, for all that you have done, for all that you are doing, and for all that you will do in our lives, in the life of Yehezqēls, and in the lives of all Yisrael, wherever they are scattered. It is about you. It is your story that is told in the Torah, in the writings of the prophets, in the Tehillim, and in the Brit Hadashah. It's always been about you. It was you who sent your Yahid, Yahushua HaMashiach, to make a way for us to return into right relationship with you. It's always been about you. Your great name. The love you have for us, even though we didn't deserve it. It's always been about you. So, as we get ready to leave this room, but never your presence, we ask and we say, Yahuwah, it is your bounty that we're going to enjoy today. And if it not for you, we would go hungry. But you have made a way once again for us to enjoy all your benefits. Hallelujah. So we ask that you would barak this food to the nourishment of our bodies and our minds, that you would sanctify it and purify it in Hashem Yahusha. Hallelujah.
Yahuwah bless you and guard you.
Yahuwah bless you and guard you.
Yahuwah make his face shine upon you.
Yahuwah make his face shine upon you.
And show favor to you.
And show favor to you.
Yahuwah lift up his face upon you.
Yahuwah lift up his face upon you.
Give you.
Give you
Shalom.
Shalom.